Yeah, well, we had great meetings with the Democrats.
Republicans are approaching this from a point of view as they want to move very quickly.
Hey there, future millionaires. Welcome back to the channel. It's so good to have you here with me again. I genuinely hope you're crushing it today, no matter where you're tuning in from around this amazing world of ours. Today, we're diving deep into XRP, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. But first, I've got something really exciting to share with you from our friends at Crypto Brothers. Picture this. You've got $2,000 burning a hole in your pocket, and you're ready to invest. Well, they've put together an incredible sample crypto portfolio that I think you're absolutely going to love. Okay, so here's what absolutely blew my mind. They actually included XRP right alongside the heavy hitters like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. And get this, they break down every single one of these cryptos in detail. But here's the million-dollar question I want you to think about. You're a regular investor, just like most of us, and you've got $2,000 to work with. What's your move? Are you really going to spread that money across Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Solana? Let's be real here. Probably not, right? Think about what you'd actually get. With Bitcoin, you're looking at a tiny fraction of one coin. Same story with Ethereum, just a small piece. Now with Solana, you could grab maybe 10 coins, possibly 11 if you catch a nice little dip. But here's where it gets interesting. With XRP at today's prices, you could walk away with 833 coins. That's a huge difference. Now, if you're like most people, you're going to go with whatever gives you the most bang for your buck, especially when you start digging into XRP's actual utility and what this thing is designed to do. When it comes to the best potential return on investment, XRP is looking pretty sweet right now. But here's what I'm not buying. This idea that retail investors are going to come flooding back and start FOMOing into Bitcoin again. I just don't see it happening. However, mark my words on this one. Once those XRP ETFs finally go live, we're going to see the price of XRP move faster than you can blink. When that domino falls, everything changes. How to catch market manipulation in altcoins before they crash. So I'm reading through this article and I'm literally sitting here thinking, wait a minute. Are they seriously trying to tell us that Bitcoin has zero manipulation? Come on. Listen to this gem. Unlike Bitcoin, many altcoins have low liquidity and limited oversight, making them prone to price manipulation and insider exploitation. Okay, hold up. What did we literally just witness? Bitcoin came absolutely crashing down. They're painting this picture like Bitcoin is some untouchable special snowflake that can't be manipulated, while every other coin is basically garbage. But here's the kicker. We're all still dancing to Bitcoin's tune. When Bitcoin crashed, guess what happened? Every single altcoin went down with it like dominoes. If we could actually break free from Bitcoin's grip, I genuinely believe most of these crashes wouldn't even touch the utility-driven cryptos that actually solve real problems. And this is exactly why articles like this drive me absolutely crazy. They're basically saying, hey, unless you're throwing your money at Bitcoin, you're going to get manipulated left and right. Your altcoins will never pump. You'll never make it big in crypto. It's like they want you to believe Bitcoin is the only safe haven, when the reality is completely different. We just watched it prove that theory wrong in real time. You know what? These are literally the exact same stories they've been feeding us for years now. It's like a broken record at this point. But here's what has me genuinely excited. We're finally getting close to a level playing field in crypto, and I cannot wait. Once that happens, everything is going to shift. We're talking about a complete game changer for the entire crypto space. I truly believe that's the moment we'll finally see utility coins break free from Bitcoin's shadow. No more being dragged down every time Bitcoin sneezes. And speaking of breaking free, Brad Garlinghouse just dropped this absolute fire quote. Out with the old rails and in with the new. I mean, that says it all right there. Actually, let me show you something really interesting from this article that perfectly backs up what I'm talking about. All right, now I want to take you back in time a little bit. This article I'm about to show you is from way back in 2021, so we're talking almost 4 years ago now. The headline reads, "Need an Indian alternative to SWIFT payment system?" Think about that for a second. Even back then, India was already actively searching for an alternative to the traditional SWIFT system. This wasn't some random thought or wishful thinking. They were seriously looking for a better way to handle payments. The SWIFT payment system, to better protect the privacy of their domestic financial data, and give their economy a real boost. This was actually coming from a parliamentary committee that was diving deep into their personal data protection bill from 2019. Now, here's what cracks me up. I keep seeing people in the comments saying things like, Swift is here forever. Nobody wants an alternative to Swift. Are you kidding me? They were literally hunting for alternatives 4 years ago. This isn't some new trend we're talking about. And it's not just India, folks. All the BRICS countries are actively searching for Swift alternatives. And here's why. These sanctions just keep coming and coming. There's no end in sight. We literally just saw even more sanctions slapped on Russia, and you've got other countries jumping on the bandwagon, following the US lead every single time. This is exactly why Ripple is positioned to become the ultimate alternative in the future. It's not a matter of if anymore, it's when. And get this, even in that 2021 article I just mentioned, guess who they were already talking about and quoting? That's right, Ripple. They saw this coming from a mile away. This was put in motion a long time ago. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong on CNBC. Crypto market structure bill is close to passing. Take a listen.
Yeah, well, we had great meetings with the Democrats in the Senate and on the Republican side today. And the good news is that there is strong bipartisan support and will to get this market structure legislation done. It's important for America, and the 50 million Americans who've used crypto want to see it get done. And so one date we heard floated was, let's try to get this markup done before Thanksgiving. I think that there's 90% of the issues are already aligned on and agreed, and there's draft text going back and forth, a lot of great cross-functional collaboration happening. That last 10% are the remaining issues, and everyone committed to get in the room together and work it out, and hopefully we'll see some draft text or get it out of committee by Thanksgiving.
Look, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this actually happens, but honestly, I'm still pretty skeptical about it. But you know what? I'm definitely going to be watching this space closely to see how things unfold from here. Actually, speaking of which, I've got something really interesting I want you to hear. Check this out.
Republicans are approaching this from a point of view as they want to move very quickly. I think Democrats would like to have some more time. They want to feel like they are part of the process, and they have their own ideas on what needs to be included. But even more than that, I do think there are a lot of senators who want to be involved that just haven't had enough time to digest the proposals that are out there or get deep on the technology. And so there is a learning gap there. And I think, listen, the industry, I ran the Blockchain Association for 7 years before coming over to Solana Policy Institute. There's been a lot of education that's been done, but this is, as we know, an incredibly fast-moving space, and we want to be sure that these senators feel comfortable and confident about where the technology is so that they can get the legislative framework in place that works to keep the US as a leader in this technology.
So it sounds like they're really trying to fast-track this thing and get it done ASAP. But here's what I'm curious about. What's actually holding this up? What are the roadblocks? We all know that a lot of these politicians are trying to keep the banks happy too, right? So here's the million-dollar question. How do you keep the banks in business while also pushing forward with real innovation? You can't just leave them in the dust. But here's my take on this whole situation. And this might be a hot take, but hear me out. The banks have had literally years to jump into this space. Years! They could have been the ones leading the charge, pushing crypto forward, embracing the innovation. But did they do that? Absolutely not. Instead, what did they do? They went and used their political connections to crack down on crypto, to hold it back, all while they kept getting richer and richer off the old system. And here's the kicker. As long as we don't have this market structure bill in place, they can just keep doing business as usual. It's like they're playing defense while everyone else is trying to move the game forward. Man, I really hope we can get this wrapped up by the end of 2025. That would be huge. Speaking of exciting developments, check this out. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse is going to be at XRP Australia 2026. This is going to be Australia's biggest blockchain summit, and they're going deep on the XRP ledger and all kinds of decentralized innovations. Mark your calendars, February 7th in Sydney. I am definitely going to be keeping my eye on what comes out of that event. And you know what's really interesting about this? While we were dealing with all the regulatory crackdowns here in the US, guess what the rest of the world was doing? They just kept moving forward. They saw an opportunity to get ahead of us, and they took it. I think Paul Atkins hit the nail on the head when he said the US is basically a decade behind the rest of the world when it comes to crypto. A whole decade! That's absolutely wild when you think about it. Innovation. I mean, so many other countries are just light years ahead of us at this point. Now, speaking of being ahead of the game, let's talk about something absolutely mind-blowing. Ripple's Chris Larson just realized $764 million in XRP profits and turned around and invested $50 million into Evernorth. Let that sink in for a second. Get this, Chris Larson, who's the co-founder and chairman of Ripple, has pulled in over $764 million in profit from XRP since 2018. And here's the crazy part. He's still sitting on more than 2.5 billion XRP, which is worth approximately $6 billion at today's prices. This massive surge lines up perfectly with XRP's insane 355% yearly increase. Talk about timing. Now, I keep seeing people in the comments saying that Chris Larson is going to become the richest man in the world once XRP really breaks out. And honestly, I'm totally on board with that prediction. These guys are going to be absolutely loaded. But here's what I love about Chris Larson. He didn't pull a Jed McCaleb move with his XRP. Remember those infamous taco stand comments? Yeah, Chris isn't in any rush to dump his bags like that. Actually, the fact that he's reinvesting this money into Evernorth with XRP tells me everything I need to know. I think we're going to see Chris Larson keep making these strategic moves for years to come. What I'm trying to say is, I just don't see him turning around and dumping on the XRP community. That's not his style at all. Now, here's another exciting development. Revolute has partnered up with Ripple. This partnership is all about expanding access to Ripple's stablecoin, RLUSD. And get this, Revolute just secured their MiCA license, and they're about to launch crypto services all across Europe. This is huge because they're rolling this out across 30 countries throughout the entire European Economic Area. This is absolutely massive because it shows you exactly how Ripple's partnerships work. They're constantly expanding, constantly growing, and they never stop laying down those payment rails in new parts of the world. And here's what's really impressive. We've been watching this happen non-stop, even during the brutal bear market of 2022 and 2023, and straight through all of 2024. While everyone else was hibernating, Ripple just kept building. What's even cooler is that these companies aren't just using Ripple's technology anymore. Now they're also jumping on board with RLUSD. It's like watching all the pieces of the puzzle come together perfectly. You know me, I absolutely love diving into all of Ripple's expansion moves. It's honestly one of my favorite things to cover because there's always something new happening. But now, I want to shift gears and talk about something that analyst Onyx just brought up. And it's got me thinking. They're asking XRP investors a pretty intense question. Are you mentally prepared for this possible XRP scenario? And honestly, that question has me really curious about what they're seeing that we might not be.
So he's talking about this right here that came from Cyan Research. XRP $37 to $50 in this run. Honestly, I think we're going to blow right past that number. I genuinely believe XRP is going to pull off something that's going to shock everyone, even the biggest believers. But you know how analysts always ask that question? Are you mentally prepared for that kind of move? And at this point, I'm pretty sure most of you watching this channel are absolutely ready for it to happen. You've been in this game long enough. Here's what's really wild, though. The ETFs alone are projected to push XRP all the way up to $50 per coin. Just the ETFs. Can you imagine what happens when everything else starts clicking into place?
But where we go from there, that's honestly anyone's guess at this point. We're talking completely uncharted territory. The thing is, there are so many other catalysts that are going to be playing out during that exact same time frame. It's like watching multiple dominoes getting ready to fall all at once. And here's what I'm personally most excited about. I'm dying to see utility actually start driving XRP's price for real. Not just speculation, not just hype, but actual real-world usage pushing those numbers up. My gut tells me that's exactly what we're going to see happen in 2026. And when that utility wave hits, well, that's when things are going to get really interesting. You know, everyone's always talking about selling at the top, right? Well, XRP Avengers just dropped a warning that's going to make you think twice about your exit strategy. They're calling it an XRP liquidity warning, and the title says it all. Why you might not be able to sell at the top, and what to do about it. Jay Clever just came out with what I'm calling an absolute bombshell that every single XRP holder needs to hear right now. We're talking about something that could literally save you from losing thousands of dollars when this market finally goes vertical. Here's the thing. When XRP finally moons, most people have this fantasy that they'll just hit the sell button at $10 and boom, instant cash out. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, here's the reality check. It's not that simple at all. If thousands of people try to dump their bags all at the same time, guess what happens? The market doesn't magically have enough buyers sitting there ready to scoop up all those orders at the same exact price. This is what they call thin liquidity, and it's a real problem that could totally mess up your exit strategy.
So when you confidently hit that sell button at $10, your order might actually get filled at $8.50 instead. Ouch. That's what we call slippage, and trust me, it can cost you thousands of dollars in literally just a few seconds. Let me paint you a picture that'll make this crystal clear. Imagine you're at a packed concert and suddenly the fire alarm goes off. What happens? Everyone and their mother tries to squeeze through the same tiny exit door at once. People get jammed up, right? That's exactly what happens during these crazy parabolic rallies. Everyone's rushing for the exit at the same time, but the liquidity door is way too small to handle the crowd. Now here's where it gets even more interesting for XRP specifically. While us regular retail traders are stuck using exchanges like Coinbase or Kraken, the big players, we're talking institutions, banks, hedge funds, massive corporations, they don't even touch those exchanges. Instead, they're making their moves through private deals called over-the-counter trades, completely away from where we can see them. And here's the kicker. With Ripple's massive $1 billion acquisition of Standard Custody and Trust Company, even more XRP liquidity is about to disappear from the exchanges we use and into corporate payment systems. Now, don't get me wrong, this is absolutely fantastic for real-world adoption. But here's the catch. It means there's going to be way less XRP sitting around on public exchanges when everyone decides they want to cash out. So yeah, when the next XRP bull run finally kicks into high gear, we could see prices absolutely rocket higher than we've ever seen before. But here's the reality check. Cashing out isn't going to be as simple as just clicking that sell button and calling it a day. So what's the fix? You've got to plan ahead, people. Here's your action plan. Move your XRP off exchanges right now. Set those sell targets early. Don't wait until you're caught up in the madness. And for the love of all things crypto, use limit orders instead of market orders. Whatever you do, don't wait for the chaos to hit before you make your plan. Because when XRP finally goes absolutely vertical, the real winners aren't going to be the people trying to perfectly time the top. The winners are going to be the ones who saw this coming and got themselves ready for it way ahead of time. And I'm totally on board with that perspective because I keep seeing the exact same comments everywhere I look. Once XRP hits $10, I'm out. Sound familiar? Here's the thing though. You're probably going to end up selling way lower than that because that's literally what everyone thinks is the magic exit number. It's been the go-to narrative for years now. Even though tons of analysts are screaming, hey, XRP is going to $30, $50, maybe even higher, there's still this massive crowd that just wants to bail at $10. And honestly, most of these people picked up their XRP at absolutely dirt cheap prices. I'm talking way back in the pre-2017, 2018 days. So here's what's going to happen. If everyone rushes for the exit at the exact same time, guess what? You're not selling anywhere near the top. I've covered this in previous videos, but every single day I see the same overconfident comments. I know exactly when the top is coming. I'm going to sell at the perfect moment. Let me break it to you gently. You will never, ever sell at the exact top. Nobody does. That's why you absolutely need a solid game plan. If you've written down specific price points where you want to take profits, stick to them like your life depends on it. As for me personally, I honestly don't think I'm going to sell any of my XRP. I really don't. I can see what's coming in the short term, and I think if you sell this time around and try to buy back in later, that XRP is going to cost you a fortune when you want back in. Everyone's sitting there expecting this massive dip to happen, but I'm just not seeing it. Not with ETFs in the picture. That 80 to 90% crash that everyone keeps calling for, I don't think it's going to materialize this time. I genuinely believe the ETFs are going to act like a safety net and really prop up XRP's price throughout this cycle. But hey, we'll see where this wild ride takes us. Until then, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together, my friends. Alright, that's a wrap for today's video. I want to give a massive thanks to each and every one of you for watching and supporting the channel.
You guys are absolutely amazing, and I'll catch you in the next one.